So the guy's name is Vem Miller. He's 49 years old. He's from Las Vegas. And he's the guy that was arrested that a sheriff said may have been trying to assassinate Trump. This guy said, I'm a Trump supporter. I wasn't looking to assassinate the president, but he's kind of a sovereign citizen. He had a homemade license plate on his vehicle and guns and passports. And so there's been a lot of confusion. He says he's a Trump supporter. Now, where did you meet him?
So we had a booth inside Panther Arena in Milwaukee, but we only used that booth for your show. And then after that, we were pretty much not there.
Right.
I made a return trip there in the evening because they did all the speeches next door at the big arena, and I needed somewhere just to work. And I go there, and this man, Van Miller, is sitting at our booth.
All of our equipment's there.
All of our equipment's there, everything. He's
KTAR logos.
KTAR logo. He is sitting there at the booth, just working. And I go up there, I talk to him, I say, hey, this is our booth or whatever. He's like, sorry, I'm just trying to get some stuff done for my podcast. And I said, yeah, absolutely, just fine. So ended up sitting next to this man for 30, 45 minutes. There's multiple people that came up. Roger Stone, his grandson, was there, came up, knew the guy. I mean, people knew who this man was.
And he was credentialed, obviously, because we had to go through, it was quite a process to get in and out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he was obviously credentialed to get in the RNC.
Yeah, which means he passes, a Secret Service background check, and I mean that's who credentials all these folks. So yeah, he was in the same realm, same building as us, and at one point he was sitting right next to me. So yeah,
he's quoted here. He said to Fox News Digital, "I'm 100% a Trump supporter. He has no intention of trying to shoot the former president at Coachella Valley event. I always travel around with my firearms in the back of my truck. I've literally never even shot a gun in my life. I don't know anything about guns. I'm beyond a novice." Now, you're looking at this picture, which is horrible radio, but that's the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And he talked to me because I told him we were from Phoenix, and he's like, oh, I spend so much time on the West Coast. I'm Vegas, I spend time. And he wore a very specific Dodgers hat, which I've seen in some of the photos since. And I said to myself for the weekend, that's the guy who I spoke to and was telling me about his podcast. And we were just talking West Coast, and that was 45 minutes an hour.
Did you get any by the way, Danny Shapiro is joining us from the KTAR news team. We were at the RNC together, Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, or in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And you ran into this guy that we're talking about, the one that was accused, or he's arrested, but he has not been accused of attempting an assassination. But did you get any sense that this guy was dangerous?
No, not at all. I mean, he was doing video editing. He was doing podcast editing, in the middle of speeches. This was not a man who seemed like his ulterior motive was to commit some sort of, heinous act. And mind you, the RNC was the week after Trump did get shot. So the timing of that is, very interesting, of course. But yeah, no, this is a man who just seemed like he was trying to do his job and make his way in the world by himself.
Was he a strange guy? Was he odd?
Yeah, I would say so. Just a little bit different. Some of the rhetoric that came out, I had to just, pull myself back a little bit. Definitely a little different, character, than what we'd consider normal per se. But there's a couple moments I had to step back and say, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about or, what your purpose is, but nothing that led me to believe that he wasn't a supporter of Trump or, anything like that.
When you walked in the studio during the commercial break, this is not the conversation I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't even talk. I guess it would have been nondescript enough of a conversation that you didn't say anything to me when you saw me next. Like, hey, there was this weird guy at our table.
Right, exactly.
Because let's be honest, there were a lot of weird people.
Of course.
We saw some oddballs at that convention.
We did, but yeah, I mean, nothing to where I felt the need to tell you or anything like that. The guy sitting next to us, John, who was there that whole time, he was there at that same time, so he saw him as well. And so, yeah, outside of that, though, nothing nothing too memorable to, if this guy wouldn't have shown up, on national news, I never would have thought about him probably again in my life. There wasn't anything too off-putting or anything, but you see the photo and you remember that conversation, and it's quite the epiphany,
Yeah, it says he was released Saturday on $5,000 bail, scheduled to appear in court. They've contacted Miller's office, the Riverside Sheriff's Department, for further comment. He told Fox News he purchases firearms protection. I'm looking at this. It doesn't really say anything about him being a podcaster. He said he tried to gain entry to the rally with fake press passes. Miller denied passes. Driver's license passports he had were fake. He said he's an Armenian, and some of his legal documents use his full Armenian name. So there's nothing here that looks as if it doesn't talk about him being a podcaster. It doesn't say anything here that I can see. And I didn't really look anything up about this guy because I had no idea about this connection, but it doesn't say anything about him being at the RNC. He just said he was a Trump supporter, but this kind of validates that.
Right, and I made sure that I did a little extra digging yesterday. And yeah, he was definitely at the RNC. There's a lot of people that, after something like this happens, will do a deep dive on the person. And yeah, he was definitely at the RNC. I even checked in some of the videos he posted, same exact clothing that he was wearing that night. It's one of those things you kind of just will remember. So yeah, absolutely. This was the exact same guy. And I was face to face with him for half an hour, 45 minutes. Man,
I'm so glad you came in here and told this story. I appreciate it, and I'm going to do some more research on this. And thanks for coming in.
Yeah, as always, it's a pleasure to be on your show, Mike. It always is.
Well, it's one of those things that just hit me like you hit me with a brick. I couldn't believe when you walked in here. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, it's a great story. I hope you're going to write something about it, and I appreciate you telling the story on the show.
Absolutely, thanks, Mike.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Catch up on Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast, and click the button in the middle to subscribe.